this DNA journey and keep mucking up. So Haley and Emma bought me a DNA kit Christmas 2021. It arrived March 22. Oh, sorry, I got the results. Should I say March 22? And I'd gotten it for the Christmas of 21. So anyway, the saliva sample was from 23andMe. And 23andMe showed that I was 98% Celtic Breton, Irish British, 1% Arabian Peninsula, the Levant, 1% unassigned. But once you've done your DNA with one, you can download the raw data and you can upload it to other sites. And I discovered Genome Link, and this looks at your DNA at a chromosome level. So it looks deeper. What ethnicities you're made up of, literally. So this is my results. Northwestern Europe, 59.6%. We'll just go to what that is. Northwestern Europe is British, French, German, Irish, Scandinavian. And then we have the next highest one was East European, 19%. And that's Estonian, Finnish, Russian, Ukrainian, Polish. Then we have other European, Italian, Spain, Czech Republic, Hungary, Croatia, Slovenia, Greece, Bulgaria, Albania. Then we have Asian at 0.4%, mainland and maritime, East Asia, Southeast Asia, Dravidian, West Asia, Near East. It showed me 0% for Oceanian and African, 4.8 for other. When you say the other, this is where you say the African. It's the Asian. 0.4% was the Native Peoples of America, Native Peoples of America, North and Central America, the Amazon, Caribbean, Andes, and Patagonia. And the other includes ethnicities not listed in other sections, including areas in the Arctic and the Near East. So remember, Near East. So here's when you can look into the different parts. So let's just go. Is this the Global Ancestry Report? Bear with me. Yeah. So deep analysis you won't find anywhere else. Genome proprietary algorithm analyzes your raw DNA data at the chromosome level for a more complete picture of your ancestry. So on chromosome 1, I have two different segments, Southeast Asia, one at 6% and one at 2%. The overall is 21% Native Peoples of the North, Scandinavian being the most frequent ethnicity on chromosome 1 at 24%, then the Native Peoples of the North, 21%, the Native Peoples of the Andes, 12%, Native Peoples of Amazon and Caribbean, 10%, Southeast Asia, 9%, and the colour codes here are related to the colour codes and the size of the segments here. The most frequent, Scandinavian, 24%, most unique, 1% West African. So each one of your chromosomes tells a unique story about who you are. That's because a chromosome are passed down from generation to generation. They reshuffle at the individual level. As each reshuffling is random over many generations, this leads to tremendous diversity of origin. It's why two siblings can have different ancestry results and why it's so important to examine your DNA data at the chromosome level. So this dives right in there. So That's giving me chromosome 1. I haven't paid it to get my report, but it'll give me a sample. I'm going to check my phone in case it's not kitty winkies. No, it's Tesco. Okay, so this is the Global Ancestry Report. There we go. And now you can see it's shown North Africa, West Africa, and East Africa. And the Near East's here. Balkan, 24%. West African, 21%. Native peoples of Andes, 12%. Amazon and Caribbean, 10%. East Asia, Maritime, 9%. East Asia Mainland, 6%. West Asian, 4%. And you can see I can't scroll down there because I haven't paid for it. Most frequent, Balkan, 24%. Most unique, Scandinavian, 1%. Just need to put my battery out. So your ancestry by chromosome, this is chromosome 22. So there's, I think this means there's 10, 7, 8, 9, 10 ethnicities on chromosome 22. Arctic being the highest at 31%, then Dravidian 13%, native peoples of Andes 12%, and then 7 I don't see. Chromosome 22 details. Again, you see the segments. Showing a little bit more there. Most frequent, Arctic 31, most unique, Scandinavian 1. And here's some of the other ones on this chromosome, on this particular chromosome. Is Arctic shared with 6 chromosomes, Dravidian 5 chromosomes, 4% and 6% respectively. Native peoples of Andes 1 chromosome, 12%. Native peoples of Amazon and Caribbean 6 chromosomes, 10%. Doesn't tell me the rest. Deep dive into ethnicities. So I was, well, on this it's got 20% total for Dravidian. God, I'm wearing glasses, but I still need to bring that up. So 4,200 years ago, there was a massive climatic shock across Eurasia. Drought spread across the land. This event resulted in the fall of the Old Kingdom of Egypt and overthrow of the Mesopotamian dynasty of Sargon of Akkad, and perhaps the first step in the collapse of the cities of the Indus Valley civilization. For the 2 former civilizations, we have texts and documents. For the third, we have archaeology. We do not know what they called themselves, though the Mesopotamians seem to have called them Maluans. Their civilization included most of modern Pakistan and parts of the north and west of India, and was anchored by 2 great cities, Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa. After 2000 BC, this civilization went into decline. The cities disappeared. Humans devolved to small-scale villages. We don't know what language these people spoke, but we know something of their genes. Their ancestors had occupied the eastern edge of the Iranian plateau and developed farming independently, though perhaps with some inspiration from their cousins to the west. They expanded eastward into the basin of the Indus River. Over 5,000 years ago, they mixed with hunter-gatherers, moving north and west. People distantly related to the indigenous people of Southeast Asia. The resultant people were a synthesis of West and East, though perhaps with more Western heritage. Today, the ancestral component is the largest fraction in India. It is most prominent in Dravidian-speaking groups to the south, who seem to have arisen through the mixture of people who migrated from this society and indigenous hunter-gatherer groups. It's a fly. It's one of those tiny ones. While the north of the subcontinent is being washed over by outsiders, Aryans, Huns and Turks, the south has been insulated from war. though exposed to trade. Roman colonies and Roman coins were numerous along the southern coast and shielded from the shock of Islamic invasions. Great temples arose at the southern tip of the continent. So these people from these ethnicities make up me, part of me. So more than 20 ethnicities, native peoples of the North America, 6 chromosomes shared with. It's not giving me percents on these ones. Iberian shared with 18 chromosomes, Italian with 6, Southeast Asia with 6, Balkan with 18, Northwestern Europe 18, mainland East Asia 18. So if we go back to the personal summary, you can then go into finding your missing European heritage. So let's have a look at this one. Again, I can only get samples of these reports, but it's amazing what information they can get, and sometimes that can be enough to satisfy the curiosity to look into the people and the time and that. 17 European ethnicities. Wow. Discover your heritage across 17 areas. Learn more about your history and yourself. And I don't know. Oh my goodness. Wow. Oh, this is all me. What? I'm going to check and see if this is me. But it says Central European Jewish, South Slavic, South Balkan, Northern Europe, Eastern Europe, Basque, Iberian, British, French, German, Irish, Southern Italy, Roma, Hispanic Jews, Scandinavian, Mediterranean Islander, Tyrolean, Alpine, Central European Jew, Europe, South Slavic, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Montenegro, Serbia, North Macedonia, Bulgaria, South Balkan, Greece, Crete, Bulgaria, Albania, Macedonia, Northern Europe, Estonian, Finnish, Russian, Spain, Basque. So it tells you all about these peoples, but I'm not convinced. I know I'm made up of a lot of ethnicities, but because I haven't got on to me. Okay, let's go back up and take a look at the sample. So we'll take a look at the sample report, see what it says. I'm going to have a coffee. Make coffee. I hate it when it takes too long. Come on, jog on. Okay. Let's get this a bit. Right. European breakdown by ethnicities. I've got less European ethnicities than I have other ethnicities in my genes. That is just so funny. Right, I just want you to be able to see them up too. Oh my goodness. No more, thank you. European breakdown by ethnicity. So overall ethnicities from Europe, 8. South Balkan, 24%. Hispanic Jews, 21%. Iberian, 12%. British, 10%. Eastern Europe, 6%. Northern Europe, 5%. And the colour codes are kind of showing you the areas they are. So your European ethnicities, this is the breakdown of your European ethnicities Southern Italy shared with 21 chromosomes, 31% total. British shared with 21 chromosomes, 29% total. Iberian shared with 21 chromosomes, 21% total. Northern Europe, 19 chromosomes, 9% total. German shared with 12 chromosomes, 6% total. Irish shared with 8 chromosomes, 2% total. And then it's got South Balkan, I can't say what that one is. And then it's got overall ethnicities, 30. I think that's like overall everywhere. But it's not showing them all. But the highest one is South Balkan. And the next is the top three, literally: South Balkan, Hispanic Jews, and Iberian. British is like 10%. The history of Europe starts in the South Balkan region, capped off by the crowning jewel of Greece, a region of diverse landscapes from the forests of Thrace to the scrubland of Crete. The region was occupied by many ancient people in antiquity, though today the Greeks loom largest of all, while much of Europe was alien to the European farmers, who had to adapt their agricultural toolkit fitfully in cold, loamy soils. The South Balkans hosted valleys and islands whose climate and terrain were similar to those to the east, where agriculture began. This is why farming is evident in this region from 9,000 years ago, the earliest on the continent. Chromosome 3. Oh, it's not showing chromosome 3. That looks like it's chromosome 3, it's not. Chromosome 11, but then it's telling you about chromosome 3. This is so weird. But again, anyway, South Balkan, 30%. Hispanic Jews, 16%. Iberian, 11%. Chromosome 1, 70% non-European. Only 1% British. Four ethnicities: South Balkan, 24%, Hispanic Jews, 21%, Iberian, 12%, British, 10%. Oh my gosh. The most unique ethnicity, 1% British. Non-European, 16 non-European ethnicities, 81%. I'm not even British. Your chromosomes are numbered in order of size. That makes chromosome 1 the largest. It contains over 3,000 genes made up of over 240 million base pairs. While these genes differ in length, they contain an average of 80,000 base pairs, or 160,000 nucleotides per gene. These genes control literally thousands of proteins in your body. For example, your serotonin receptors are built from part of chromosome 1. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that helps regulate your mood, and the serotonin receptors tell nerve cells where serotonin is present. However, this chromosome also contains genes related to many different genetically influenced conditions, from Alzheimer's disease to Zellweger syndrome. Since this is the largest chromosome, it also has the most traits and diseases associated with it. Okay, so that's the largest. That's like, and the most DNA, the most ethnicities in this largest. I'm just gobsmacked. Is Southern Italy, British, Iberian. That's 21 chromosomes, and on chromosome 1, the most prevalent is South Balkan, Hispanic Jews, Iberian, and British is like down here. It's like, wow. Okay, so going back, where are we? So that was the European. Take us back. It can get quite confusing. Whoa, the heck? It can get quite confusing. Let's just go straight to the report because it's human error here. Right, global ancestry report. I think we've looked at the global one, didn't we? I'm going to go right down here because this is like where my ancient bloodlines, ancient ancestry. So this is my report. Check report. And then you can find your closest ancestor from real archaeological information. So rather than telling you who shares your genes around the world, Genome Link's ancient admixture focuses on DNA from thousands of years in the past, but looking at the connections across the generations. This application allows you to place your personal genealogy into the context of broader social and historical processes and events. So on here, the highest percent of mine is the steppe pastoralists at 41%. Then the first farmers at 36%. Then the hunter-gatherers. Then South Asian. And then you've got East Asian and West African and the indigenous Americas. The Mesolithic hunter-gatherers of Europe expanded north from refuges in the south of the continent at the end of the last ice age, with origins in the Near East during the Pleistocene. These cultures and societies expanded rapidly into the lands uncovered by retreating ice sheets, exploiting rich resources in the new forests and teeming seashores. Though these people retreated in the face of the expansion of farming, they persisted in northern Europe until about 4,000 years ago, maintaining continuity with folkways with roots that stretched back to the Ice Age. I need a drink of coffee. The Western European hunters and gatherers had blue eyes, dark hair, and dark skin. About 75% of the variation in blue versus non-blue eye colour in modern Europeans is due to genetic markers in and around the OCA2 and HERC2 genes. I have blue eyes and was born with jet black, curly hair, but I'm white, like lily white. These variants are rarer outside of Europe and near absent outside of Europe and West Asia. When the first ancient DNA was extracted from hunter-gatherers who had been dominant in Western Europe before farming, to the surprise of many researchers, most of them turn out to have had the markers today associated with blue eyes, but not the ones for lighter skin or hair. At the end of the Ice Age, a higher proportion of Southern Europeans likely had blue eyes than today, but their skins were likely far darker. A bit about the migration history. Imagine all this covered in ice. Oh, sorry. The Ice Age glacial wall that extended across Europe almost to modern Nice retreats, and these populations moved back north. At the end of the last Ice Age, Europe was occupied by hunting and gathering populations who had, I'm sorry, I'm battling a fly. I need some incense on. Who had expanded out of West Asia 15,000 years ago after the last glacial maximum. These people were concentrated in the peninsulas of southern Europe, such as Iberia, because they remained relatively habitable even during the coldest phases. Within warmer climates and expanding forests, the hunter-gatherers migrated northward, following their game. In Scandinavia and in northeast Europe, they encountered other groups of hunter-gatherers, producing hybrid cultures. The first farmers. Agriculture in Europe has origins in the Near East, back to the first farmers who cultivated barley and wheat in the hillocks of the Fertile Crescent. This lifestyle was brought to Europe 8,000 years ago from Anatolia, as settlements expanded across the Aegean into Greece and the Balkans. These Anatolian farmers gave rise to a diverse array of cultures from Spain all the way up to Scandinavia, genetically and culturally very distinct from the aboriginal hunter-gatherers of the continent. These peoples do not seem to have mixed with the indigenous populations for thousands of years. The final demise of the farming societies between 4 and 5,000 years ago coincided with the arrival of peoples from the Eurasian steppe to the east, who absorbed both the farmers and the last hunter-gatherers. The life of the farmers. Get this incense on there, because this fly, it's like one of those tiny little flies and it keeps flying around. But it's flying around my head. The early farmers are thought to have had light skin, dark hair and brown eyes. Rye, barley, wheat and peas were domesticated along with pigs, sheep, goats and cattle. At the end of the Ice Age, a variety of cultures developed in the Near East from the Levant up northward to Anatolia and east into Iran, which adopted modes of existence that we identify with the Neolithic Revolution. This new Stone Age is less defined by this style of tool and more by the fact that these people tamed wild animals toward food production and began to plant cereals in a conscious and systematic function. These people were the first known farmers, prefiguring transitions that occurred in other distant places such as New Guinea and Mesoamerica, and setting the template for human existence as village life up until the Industrial Revolution. Expanding demographically in their homeland, Anatolian farmer people quickly spilled over into the Balkans, rapidly spreading across the Mediterranean 8,000 years ago. They overwhelmed the local hunter-gatherers, marginalizing and assimilating them. Modern-day Sardinians represent the purest distillation of this ancient migration, being genetically isolated from later events and adopting Indo-European language only during the Roman period. Meanwhile, other settlers moved north through valleys into the interior of Europe, using the Danube to spread up into modern Germany and clearing forests and locales suitable for their crops. But these first farmers did not marginalize all the hunter-gatherers in the north, who persisted in many pockets and were only absorbed into the farmers later. In Scandinavia, farming was delayed for several thousand years because of the difficulty in adapting cereal agriculture to the cold northern climate. The climax of the farming societies occurred after the exhaustion of the land due to the primitive nature of early agriculture. Famines likely resulted in warfare, judging by the militarization of their settlements in longhouses. Many of the farming people transitioned toward pastoralism and cattle culture before their ultimate demise at the hands of the new people. So it's like following my own journey when you recognise the percentages of the different ethnicities within me, and then the information that's provided. Following the coastline of the Mediterranean or the valleys of the interior, the first farmers of Europe ventured out of their Near Eastern homeland, driven by overpopulation and pulled by the possibility of fertile virgin lands. Farming began 12,000 to 11,000 years ago in southeast Turkey and northern Syria. By 9,000 years ago, the early farmers had spread across Greece. By 8,800 to 6,000 years ago, the early farmers had spread across the Mediterranean coast of Europe and up the Danube into Germany. Sardinians. Modern-day Sardinians draw much of their ancestry from the early farmers. Because of their geographical isolation on an island, they were less impacted by later migrations than people on the mainland of Europe. In particular, the highlands of Sardinia seem to preserve genetic signatures of the initial farming populations. The ancient language of the Sardinians is presumed to have been non-Indo-European, and their closest relatives on the mainland of Europe are the Basques, who speak a non-Indo-European language, had a culture that worshipped goddesses. Indigenous Americans. The first humans to occupy the New World were also the descendants of some of the first humans to venture north into Siberia. With a culture orientated towards big game, these people naturally moved eastward and across territory which today is under the ocean due to the rise of sea level. In this manner, indigenous American people are actually the scions of a lost continent of the Ice Age. Physical characteristics. Once on the new continent, these people spread rapidly, making use of their mobile foraging and hunting strategy. The ancient site at Monteverde in Chile attests to the fact that it took only a few thousand years for humans to range across both continents. Just as in Eurasia, their lifestyle was geared towards hunting and gathering. But just as in Eurasia and Oceania, after the Ice Age, some of these hunters and gatherers settled down, eventually developing their own form of agriculture independently. Corn in Mesoamerica and potato in the highlands of South America. But not all mysteries are solved. The geneticists have discovered that some of the peoples in remote Amazonia are somewhat different from other indigenous populations. They show evidence in the genomes of descent from a people more closely related to the people of Papua New Guinea and Australia and mainland East Asia. There is still much to learn. Migration history. The native peoples of the New World descend from adventurous Siberians in their quest for big game. They inadvertently stumble upon a vastness in the New World. Start in Siberia 20,000 years ago, in Beringia 18,000 years ago. Arrows that move into North America and South America 15,000 years ago. Steppe pastoralists, and this is what was the highest on my peoples. 5,000 years ago, on the edge of Eastern Europe, as the forest gave way to grassland in the south and east, a diverse array of related societies engaged on the Eurasian steppe. Descended from both ancient hunter-gatherer societies, which flourished in northeast Europe, and agriculturalists who moved up from the south and west Asia. These people pioneered a pastoralist form of life in the north. Eventually, the pastoralists pushed west and ended thousands of years of farmer domination, clearing the remaining forests for their pastures. The descendants of the steppe people were the ancestors of the various European societies which we know from ancient history: Celts, Germans, and Slavs in the north, Italians, Iberians, and Greeks in the south. The Indo-European language on the steppe now dominates all of Europe, and the gods of ancient myth, Zeus, Thor, and Jupiter, were their gods. Physical characteristics. Steppe pastoralists were one of the agro-pastoralist people who developed a new way of life on the western Eurasian steppe 5,000 years ago, setting a precedent that would reverberate down throughout history. Exploited the newly invented wheel and newly domesticated horse, abandoning their villages and turning into a mobile culture that could better exploit the resources of the steppe. Wagons became very important to their culture and are found in their burials. The words of axle, harness, pole, and wheel are common across all Indo-European languages, indicating that these technical terms arose in the original population before it expanded. The horse allowed them to travel with large herds of livestock, cattle and sheep, which they grazed on the steppe. Focusing on animal husbandry rather than cereal cultivation, steppe pastoralists were taller and more robust people than the early European farmers. The ability to digest milk, sugar, lactose seems to come from them, as their patriarchal societies were focused around cattle. Due to the success of the new lifestyle, steppe pastoralists expanded in all directions. In Europe, their expansion was associated with burial mounds or kurgans and their retreat of the old farming culture. Their interactions with the native European peoples gave rise to successor cultures such as the Batlax people or the Belbika societies. In northern Europe, the descendants of steppe pastoralists were more successful than the farmers had been in those frigid latitudes, as they absorbed the last of the hunter-gatherers. The gods of myth and the barbarian tribes of antiquity are all ultimately the scions of the Yamnaya. So the steppe pastoralists were the Yamnaya. Okay, migration history. So Yamnaya. And there was something I watched in the Yamnaya and recorded where are very closely related people, and I think are the same peoples. Out of the vast Eurasian steppe, steppe pastoralists and their descendants pushed westward, searching for greener pastures. From the Urals to the Atlantic, steppe pastoralists and their scions transformed the human geography of Europe. First emerged on the Russian steppe through the admixture with Eastern European hunters and gatherers, then entered Europe around 4,900 to 4,300 years ago, largely replaced the farmers of Europe, 90% in Britain and 30% in Iberia. West African. Africa is the original home of humanity. While modern humans flourished outside of the continent for 50,000 years, within Africa, our species had emerged by 200,000 years ago. Over the last few thousand years, migration and slavery have resulted in the heritage of Africa spreading across the inhabited continents. While West Africans were presented in the New World as slaves, East Africans rose to power in Asia as ministers and generals in the service of rulers. From the city people of India to African ancestry in modern Spaniards, this legacy is now shared across many regions. Though much of the heritage is recent and due to migration over the last 1,000 years, some of it is more ancient. From black people who were known to live in the Roman Empire to the deep shared ancestry of East Africans and all the people outside of Africa, small fractions of African ancestry are present in some individuals due to extremely ancient connections. Mine's extremely ancient connections, if you think about it. We're 2023 now. I'm 59-year-old this year. I think if my kids had tried and got theirs done, not a lot of that ancient stuff would show. East Asia. 40,000 years ago, modern humans swept across the Pacific seaboard of Eurasia. Ancient DNA from China already shows that East Asians began to diverge from people to the west and south. These are the distant ancestors of the modern Chinese, Japanese, and Koreans. But the development of agriculture 10,000 years ago also saw a period of demographic expansion and mixing. Modern people, like the Chinese, share common ancestors, but also mixed with local people, producing a riotous diversity of local groups. The Japanese emerged out of the mixing of Yayoi rice farmers and Jamon hunter-gatherers. East Asians are a microcosm of human diversity and the processes that lead to that diversity. The descendants of intrepid explorers, the modern people of the region, descended from further changes wrought by cultural innovation, from the invention of agriculture to the rise of the empires. South Asian. South Asians emerged from the mixing of the people of Western and Southeast Eurasia 5,000 years ago. While their paternal ancestors are often more related to peoples to the west, their maternal ancestors are more like peoples to the east. The diversity of South Asians, 25% of humanity, is the outcome of recent mixing and prefigures our modern world. South Asians exhibit massive physical culture and linguistic diversity, from the Indo-Aryan peoples of the north and west, some of whom are light-skinned and light-eyed, to the Dravidian peoples of the south, small and dark-skinned, all emerge out of the same process and mixture. These connections mean that South Asian ancestry and heritage is found far outside of modern South Asia, from closely related to Iranians to Roma groups in Europe which descend from South Asian nomads. Going back thousands of years, many of the ancestors of South Asians and Europeans are shared, speaking Indo-European languages and expanding out of the steppe. This shared ancestry often results in Europeans registering South Asian ancestry, and the inverse. It's just mad. So let's just go and see what more reports we've got. Okay. Right, so we've done that one. So we've done the European. So let's learn more about Viking. Okay, is Viking in your blood? Again, it's only a sample report because I haven't paid for it. How much Viking? Where's that Viking? How much Viking ancestry do you have? The Viking Index indicates your own relationship to the ancient people of Scandinavia who lived 1,000 years ago and spread out across the world in a series of migrations and raids. Our index measures the genetic differences between you and these people who died more than 1,000 years ago. Let's see. Oh, it showed me the percent the other day. It's like it's showing us there. Which Viking groups are you closest to? Get a DNA. Hang on. Oh, what if I just... Right, they've got the sample report at the top. Let's have a look. This tiny little flies that put my head in. You have British Vikings, Viking as part of your ancestor. Okay. My Viking index is 20%. Yeah, that's what it's telling me. Thing. You are in 78th percentile compared with all genome users. The Vikings of Britain and Ireland settled down and integrated with the local people, adopting the Christian religion. They nevertheless maintained their own lifestyle and language. The day Thursday comes from Thor's Day, while words such as gun, ransack, and slaughter come from the Norse. If you're 100% Viking, that means you are genetically the same as the ancient people, though the reality is that because of migration into Scandinavia since the Viking period, very few people hit that metric. The Viking Index measures not only the relationship to these ancient people, but reflects the reality that peoples have mixed and merged since the Viking Age. Modern Scandinavians descend mostly of these people, but also have ancestry from all the groups the Vikings interacted with. So my closest Viking looks like the British Vikings, then the Scandinavian Vikings, Finnish, Slavic. First match, British Vikings. I just read that before. Second match. The Vikings of Scandinavia erupted into the landscape of Europe in the 9th century with rapid raids on England and stories into France. Recorded historically by terrified Christians, these Western movements were documented extensively in history. Those Vikings who remained in the West gave rise to important cultures and societies. The Normans descended from the Northmen, who settled down in northern France and eventually conquered England. Far to the east and less clear in these histories, the Vikings of Sweden expanded across the vast landscape of Finland and Russia, taking their longships overland when needed, and navigating the great rivers until they reached the Black Sea. In the process, the core Scandinavian homelands, what became Norway, Denmark, and Sweden, became rich with booty, precious gold, and humans. Those who raided abroad became rich and home unlikely, left more than their fair share of descendants in the modern day. Finnish. Just kind of sees the same thing there. Slavic. Doesn't give you any more information on Slavic there, just says what it's seen there before. Wow, so 20% anyway was my Viking report. Anything else was there? No. It was showing the Native American report on the last one I looked at. Don't know why it's not. Oh, hang on. Bloodlines. Let's have a look at this one. Bloody flies barking. Right, let's have a look at this one. Find the closest ancestor. And these are from archaeological things that we have DNA samples from. So, summary. I have 61 matches. No, hang on. I matched 61 samples over all areas. Is that what that means? Or is the 10 samples in the Pleistocene? It's confusing, isn't it? Right, let's have a look. Can't go further down. Right, so Copper Age. Copper smelting inventor in Turkey. A 2.14% DNA match. Lovely. You see that? The Pleistocene, Aurignacian hunter-gatherer, 0.79% DNA match. Mesolithic 2, stone technologist in Sweden, 0.64% DNA match. Ancient war victim in Poland, 0.38% match. Just read about this Elba on Facebook. Elba, a shepherdess in Spain, 0.28%. She's from the Mesolithic 1. A coastal cave woman in Sicily. It's not giving me the DNA. A man inhabiting the Rhone River banks. Natufian man. Late Bronze Age potter. Brown-eyed man from the Baltic region. Slavic girl in England. Oh. Cereal cultivator in Morocco. Early Bronze Age. Agriculturist with cutting-edge wheel usage. Bronze Age cave woman in Switzerland. The origin of modern Moroccan. A writing system inventor. A Scandinavian fisherwoman in Norway. Russian ancestor with a stone pendant. Wow. A tree cultivator from Pakistan. Fisherman. Kid inhabiting the Danube river banks. A mountain farmer in Armenia. Pottery artist in Germany. Megalithic architect in Ireland. Black-haired hunter-gatherer in Britain. farmer from Bavaria, Anatolian hunter-gatherer, ancient winemaker, a ceramics maker in China, blue-eyed female from the Fertile Crescent, Baikal Lake hunter-gatherer, Iron Age Philistine, wow, Etruscan man, Cuban fisherman, Hungarian sheep shearer, Barcelona Iron Age man, Egyptian mummy man, what? I might have to pay for this. Catalonian Iron Age man, Tonga outrigger boatman, Turkmen farmer woman, Mongolian shepherd, I'm getting emotional, Cameroonian Stone Age child, Siberian farmer, California Native American woman, British Bronze Age girl, Malaysian hunter-gatherer, Chilean fisherman, Brazilian potter woman, British Columbian ancestor of the Native Americans, German shaman woman, Devil's Gate hunter-gatherer, Amur River nomad woman, Cameroonian quartz tool boy, ancient Argentine well digger, Belizean hunter-gatherer, Brazilian quartz man, Mesolithic one again, Peruvian hunter-gatherer woman, Alaskan sunrise girl, Siberian hunter-gatherer, father of Russia, what? Mother of Mongolia, Moroccan manufacturer, and it's not showing us anymore. Jeez Louise. Like, oh my god, these are the ones that they've made available to me. So what's the earliest period, the Pleistocene? So the Pleistocene, Aurignacian hunter-gatherer, 0.79%. Belgium. Let's learn more. Is it going to let me learn more? It's locked, I think. Oh my god, it's not. It's just so unreal. They say, do you want to get full access to your genetic relatives? But I can kind of make out the Goyet Q116-1 sample, a humerus arm bone from the Troisième caverne, third cave of Goyet in Belgium, is dated to between 35,160 and 34,430 years ago, during the Aurignacian period. Excavations took place there between the second half of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, and again more recently in the last decade of the 20th century. Edouard Dupont led the main excavations in 1868. Studies found evidence of human occupation represented by Mousterian material, Lincolnbian, Ranessian, Jersmanowician material, and Upper Paleolithic complexes. So it because I haven't paid for it, won't give me any more information, but oh my god, that's just... So I match 10 samples in the Pleistocene period, 8 in the Mesolithic 1, 11 in Mesolithic 2. Unless that's how many different ones they've got on there, let's just find out. Your Mesolithic 1 era ancestors. The Mesolithic Bronze period is a technological cultural age in human prehistory, also called the Middle Stone Age. Although roughly its beginning coincides with the start of the Holocene geological epoch, since it marks a cultural transition of human populations from the Upper Paleolithic cultures to newer, but still stone tool technologies. Its beginning and end dates are more flexible, depending on when populations of different geographical areas adopted the new culture or technology, while the beginning of the Holocene epoch around 11,650 Cal BP is marked by the glacial retreat after the last glacial maximum. So this is mine from the Mesolithic then. Galicia, Spain. See, it won't let me unlock any additional samples. It won't let me. But the sample known as Chan Meso comes from a Western European hunter-gatherer woman from the early Mesolithic period, later nicknamed Elba, who lived to the age of between 20 and 40 years, and whose remains were unearthed at the Chan do Lindoro cave in Spain. This archaeological site, together with other caves, is located in the mountainous region of Galicia. The estimated age of her remains is roughly 9,000 years. DNA was extracted from her petrous skull bone. Her mitochondrial haplogroup is U5b. The skeletal remains were scattered in a collapsed cave sinkhole. There were no, I don't know, because it won't give me anything else. But literally, if you paid for it, the information you can get is just unreal. So Mesolithic, do you give me any more? The stone technologist in Sweden, 0.64%. And these people, the Mesolithic II period coincides with the Atlantic paleoclimate period, ranging between 9,000 to 7,000 year Cal BP during the Atlantic period. The climate was warmer than today, and it is considered to be the warmest period of the Holocene epoch, associated with abundant rainfall. The melting of ice and increased precipitation led to a rise in the sea levels. Thus, the British Isles were completely separated by the European mainland and flooded coastal regions in the Mediterranean. The increasing diversity of natural landscapes was followed by increased an increase in the divergence of cultures and technologies. Changed knapping technologies produced larger blades and trapezoids. The transition from Mesolithic I to II is marked by the adoption of new stone tool producing techniques by the different populations. The populations were more settled, thus the technologies became more regional. In North Europe, fishing technologies improved, making nets, wooden hooks, and traps, indicating the reliance of northern groups on aquatic resources. Toward the end of the Mesolithic II, potter also appeared in Europe, arriving from two directions: from the early Anatolian societies that started farming and from the hunter-gatherers of the East European steppes. The main dietary change between Mesolithic I and II was the exploitation of marine resources by coastal populations and increased shellfish and sea mammal consumption. There was an increase also in wild plant gathering and consumption such as olive, pea, strawberry, wild grape and pulses. Domestic cattle were introduced to Europe from the Middle East. However, pig domestication occurred in several different regions independently in Europe. Regarding burial practices, Mesolithic II populations practiced inhumation and cremation, and often buried males and females with sex-specific grave goods. Some mass graves contain, for example, Offnet Cave in Germany, contained numerous adult and children's skulls with blunt trauma or with embedded projectiles, suggesting that late Mesolithic populations often engaged in violent conflicts. Although the Anatolian original farmers started their migration towards Europe during the late Mesolithic, they reached the Aegean region, according to the archaeological records, around 6,500 BCE, initiating the Neolithic Revolution and the spread of farming, which several millennia later completely replaced the hunter-gatherer culture all over Europe. It's just like, it blows my mind. It just blows my bloody mind. So let's go back to all the reports. What I'm trying to look for is the breakdown there. So, my Native American reports. Again, it's just a sample. Check the page first. So whoa. Discover your heritage across 10 different indigenous peoples. Learn more about your history and yourself. Let's see what's got down here first, because okay, so I need to go into my sample. I think this was one of the most thingy ones as well. It was like, really? Okay. So remember at the beginning, I had on one of my chromosome things. It was like something like 31% Arctic and stuff as well. So the American breakdown by ethnicities. I have 8 ethnicities. Arctic Islands 24%, Alaska 21%, the Plains and Eastern Woodlands 12%, Sonora Desert 10%, Mesoamerica 6%, the Mayans 5%, and I can't scroll down because they don't tell me. So a breakdown of your American ethnicities. Check out the most detailed. Right, so on 16 chromosomes, Arctic Island 20% total, Alaska 16 chromosomes, 20% total, Plains and Eastern Woodlands 16 chromosomes, 20% total, Sonora Desert 16 chromosomes, 20% total, Mesoamerica 16 chromosomes, 20% total, Mayans 16 chromosomes, 20% total. So overall ethnicities 30, shared with 15 chromosomes, 24% Arctic Islands. I'm sure I've already read this. Yeah, I have read this in another one about 4,200 years ago. So this is taking me into chromosome. Chromosome 11, Alaska, Plains of Eastern Woodlands, Sonora Desert, and 7 more that they're not giving me. Yeah, but I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to remember where I got the breakdown, the actual breakdown on this. I don't know whether I can. Right, I have. I want to take you where it said about all these different tribes. I'm gonna take it from the inside from my book to be right. So my ethnicity estimate results on Genome Link: Northwestern Europe 59.6%, other European 14.7%, East European 19%, Asian 1.5%, Native Peoples of Americas 0.4%, other 4.8%. The Northwestern Europe is British, French, German. We've already gone through all of the different areas. So the global ancestry chromosome 1 sample report was 24% Scandinavian, 21% native peoples of the North, 12% native of Andes, 10% native peoples of Amazon and Caribbean, 9% Southeast Asia. Most frequent ethnicity, 24% Scandinavian. Most unique was West African, 1%. The Asian breakdown by ethnicities. Overall ethnicities 8, Siberian 33%, South Indian 20%, Thai 16%, Vietnamese 8%, Burmese 4%, Levant 2%, Turkic 1%, North Indian 1%. It doesn't show me the rest of the information. It only gives me samples. Latino America breakdown by ethnicities. Overall ethnicities 8. 1. Pima 25%, 2. Tarahumara 16%, Huchi 14%, Natua Otomi 8%, Triqui 5%, Mixteca 4%, Zapoteca 3%. African breakdown by ethnicities. Overall ethnicities 8. Southern African Niger-Congo 33%, Amaxosa 15%. This is made up of 3 different lots. So Amakosa 15%, Kulingi 12%, and Kwangali 6%. Southern African Khoisan 20%, and that's made up of Damara 15% and Halum doesn't show us the other samples. North African 8%, Central HG, I don't know what I've done there, 4%, Central West Africa, Central West 2%. My African ethnicity groups: Southern African Niger-Congo, and Southern African Khoisan. East African Afro-Asiatic, North Africa 8%, Central Africa Hunter-Gatherers 4%, Central West African Niger-Congo 2%. Neanderthal sample was 1% Neanderthal, 0.04% Denisovan. My ancient European ancestry, and this was related to those archaeological samples they have. To megalithic builders, 31.16%, Bronze Age herder, 22.13%, maritime farmers, 16.32%, pioneer farmers, 10.07%, Western European foragers, 9.67%, and the first European farmers, 9.65%. The first European farmers migrated from the other side of the Aegean, descended from Anatolians, who adapted the agricultural lifestyle 10,000 years ago. So my global ancestry: Balkan 24%, West African 21%, Native peoples of Andes 12%, Native peoples of the Amazon and Caribbean 10%, Maritime East Asia 9%, Maritime East Asia, Mainland East Asia 6%, West Asian 4%. The most frequent was the Balkan 24%, and the most unique was Scandinavian at 1%. My chromosome 22, I had 10 ethnicities on my chromosome 22. Highest percentage being Arctic, 31%, Dravidian, 13%, Native peoples of the Andes, 12%, Native peoples of the Amazon and Caribbean, 10%, Maritime East Asia, 9%, Mainland East Asia, 6%. The Vikings was 20% on the index. The European breakdown by ethnicities, the ones that were available to me, was South Balkan, 24%, Hispanic Jews, 21%, Iberian, 12%, British, 10%, Eastern Europe, 6%, Northern Europe, 5%. Southern Italy shared with 21 chromosomes, 31%, British shared with 21 chromosomes, 29%, Iberian shared with 21 chromosomes, 21%, Northern Europe shared with 19 chromosomes, 9%, German shared with 12 chromosomes, 6%, Irish shared with 8 chromosomes, 2%. Overall ethnicities, 30. On chromosome 3, there's 11 ethnicities, South Balkan being the highest at 30%, Hispanic Jews next, 16%, and Iberian at 11%. chromosome 1, there was 4 ethnicities. South Balkan, 24%. Hispanic Jews, 21%. Iberian, 12%. British, 10%. And then we've got 24% native peoples of North. Most unique ethnicity, 1% British. And then it had 16 non-European ethnicities. So the information you can get on there from your chromosome level is just mind-breaking and mind-boggling. Have I done these all now? Yeah, I don't bother these nutrition advice and stuff. But like, let's have a look at the UK breakdown. Discover British ancestry within your DNA, the most detailed UK ancestry. Let's have a look and see what it's got already. So they break it down at 21 UK regional breakdown. Wales, Scotland, Ireland, England. Does it give any on mine there? No, it doesn't give me on there. So we'll go to the simple. Let's see what my sample report is. But you see all the different peoples it could be made up of and don't even know it. I feel like a multicultural, energetic energy person. I really do. It's like amazing. Like, come on, chop chop, give me this paper. I think it's amazing. Yay. I have no patience, for things that take too long. Yay. Right, so UK breakdown by ethnicities. Overall ethnicities, 8. I've got more non-European ethnicities than I have European ethnicities. And more European ethnicities than I have UK ethnicities. So overall ethnicity, 8. Wales, this was a big shock. Because like my mum's side the Irish background. My father's Scottish. And always said had a Spanish link too. But anyway, Wales, southeast border 8%, south 16%, north 14%. Scotland, southwest end, Noi, whatever that means, 8%, Orkney 5%, northwest 4%. Southeast border 25%, Wales, south is 16%. So it tells you, well, I'm again down there. And that's all they're giving me on that, literally. Apart from that little extra there, Aberdeenshire. But in fact, Ireland's only 2% in there. It's like, what? Like 2%. I'm really made up of a lot of people. Like a lot of ethnicities. And I think that's the coolest thing I've ever discovered. Is like, I'm not just we aren't. Me, you, we aren't just one nation. One person built from one nation. We're a collective of multiple peoples. And it's just the most amazing journey to find out your own story and then follow the roots back. And literally, my haplogroup for my mtDNA was G1C3 or something. But anyway, we started off down here somewhere. Where you can't see the map. Move these people out of the way so I can kind of follow. Oh, I forgot. So, down here somewhere, one of these areas, and then up here, we came into the haplogroup. Start with L down here, and then I think it was L3, and it was something else and something else. And then by the time we got here, kind of went in 3 different directions. And explored out of us. But I love the fact that I'm made up of all these beautiful people. If you haven't done your DNA and are thinking about it, I highly recommend Genome Link. Literally, and to find that you can be linked to archaeological finds, samples they have found, dug up, found ancient samples that could match your DNA. So the Pleistocene, I've got 1 match out of 10, 1 out of 11, 1 out of 11. Yeah, so literally, I've got none in the late bronze, none in the iron that they've got. Early bronze age, show me. Where's the early bronze? But I've got a DNA match. Copper smelt invented in Turkey, 2.14 DNA match. It's like, is it just me? I am so enthralled by it. But anyway, thank you so much. This was literally done for my grandchildren so they can see what we were made up of. Because these ancient samples won't show up in my grandchildren's DNA. It'll have been reshuffled and thingy too much by then. I've been very lucky, I think, to get my DNA sample when I have, because I don't even think the majority of that far back would come up in my children's.